Hello and welcome to the Matchbook Betting podcast here with myself, Ian Fortune, and the Master Paul Lawrence as we look forward to the final of the Boyle Sports Irish Greyhound Derby. After 5 weeks of pulsating racing action, PL, it's all going to come to an end on Saturday night with the final, the gala night at Shelbourne Park. Should be a wonderful occasion. I know you're in Dublin. Beg your pardon, I know you're in Ireland. You're not in Dublin just yet. You're in County Meath, but you're joining us from Athboy, a lovely part of the world. PL, it's great to see you over. Excited about Saturday night, I am sure.
Indeed, I am. Yeah, it's always a special occasion, isn't it, for the weekend? Even we generally go on the Friday as well. It's just it's a great weekend, great atmosphere, and really looking forward to it.
Yeah, can't wait myself. Before we get into it, just don't forget, folks, Pod50 is the code if you want to join up with Matchbook Betting Exchange and get £50 in free bets. You bet £50, you get £50 back in free bets. It really makes sense. Also, don't forget the Track Club. Bet £30 over Monday through to Thursday, and you will get £10 back on a Friday for the weekend's action. That's the Track Club. You can check out all details of that on the website itself. Now let's get into it, PL. We're going to have a pretty hot favorite. Last week we suggested that Cheap Sandwiches was probably bigger than he should be, given the fact that he looked almost guaranteed a place in the final and a good draw in the final, and both of them have happened, and there we see it. He's currently 136. No, he'll be a bit bigger by the off. I'd be expecting in around the 166 mark, maybe just a fraction below it. But PL, whatever way you want to look at it, he's going to be a pretty hot favorite.
Indeed, he is. Yeah, I mean, he's gone forward the right way at the right time. We've said this right throughout the Derby. He's just gone in quietly, but he's just kept improving, and he's peaking at exactly the right time. And he was trained by a man that won last year's Irish Derby as well. So it's all things are going really well for him. And who would begrudge him winning after being kind of a little bit in the light from Bocco's Diamond, who obviously you said was the fastest dog you've seen for a long while, and it seems as though Cheap Sandwiches he's just got his big opportunity for his moment in the sun.
Yeah, he surely does. He is bidding to give Graham Holland a 5th Irish Derby success. That would be a record. Tom Lynch and Gay McKenna, two of the true legends of the sport, won 4 between them. The last of their derbies between them was back in 1972. So it tells you how long that record has stood. Graham Holland's already on 4 winners, and he's looking for a 5th. Rural Hawaii, Lenson Bocco, New Inn Taylor, and Bocco's Diamond last year. Can Cheap Sandwiches add to the list? I'd suggest he probably can. 8 to 15 tells all its own story. He was sensational last week. There was another very impressive semi-final winner, however, Glengar Silent. We managed to I managed to find him, PL, excuse me. I managed to find him last week. He's a dog that's really coming forward, but as we'll discuss a little bit later on, he's got a tricky draw to overcome in the final.
It being a November 23 pup as well, Ian, Droopy Sydney and Sing Along Sally, really nicely bred, 2 superstars in their own right. And he's another dog who seems to be stepping forward at the right time. You'd probably say that his consistency in trapping might just be a little bit of his Achilles heel, but he did break better on Saturday night in the semi-final. So who's to say, he couldn't do a 3:30 something and get himself in the contest? You wouldn't know.
He I was only working it out today, just doing the Derby fact file for the card itself, and Glengar Silent, if he did win, he would be by about 4 days the youngest winner of all time. That record currently held by Tina Marina. Wow. Susie Sapphire was very young herself, but this fellow at 679 days, I believe it is, would be 5 days younger than either of the pair we've mentioned. So Glengar Silent chasing a bit of history himself. Of course, we have Proper Heiress lying up in the red jacket. It didn't look like it was going to happen, PL, but there was a disqualification in the semi-finals. We won't get too deep into that. I've made my thoughts pretty clear on it. I thought it was the right decision. I thought Oreo Ali got up to no good and he got thrown out. And as a result, in Ireland, a dog progresses, and that dog is Proper Heiress. It's good for the occasion. It's good for the night. And of course, he is bidding to create a bit of history himself, as We have had no UK winner of the Irish Greyhound Derby since 1997. So it sounds better when you say it. We've had no UK winner this century. He is carrying a bit of weight, but he's got his draw, and a lot will depend on how he comes away from boxes. If he makes a flying start, he can certainly play a part. He only has 16 lengths and a short head to make up on cheap sandwiches in semi-final form.
Yeah, and to be fair, it wasn't. I know he had a bad draw, but from where he turned, he was a little bit disappointing to a certain extent. You have to say.
I would say very disappointing. But
yeah.
Again, a week is a long time in greyhound racing.
And you kind of highlighted his trap one trapping ability at Shelbourne Park isn't the best either. So he's going to have to do something pretty special, as you say, to reverse that form. That's not to say he can't, but he's going to need to do something fairly special. And he's a quick dog. Don't get me wrong. It's a very nice lineup, and he did beat cheap sandwiches when they had that famous buckle just 3 runs ago. So anything can happen in the final as well, Ian, as we all know.
Yeah. I suppose given the fact that we do have an 8-15 favourite, and on the night, a lot of the smaller punters, like, what's the point in having your fiver on the 8-15? They will be looking for dogs at bigger prices. Proper RS is there with a story to tell, an habitual winner, just a dog that just knows how to get to the front. We saw on 1 or 2 occasions, even though he didn't fly to the corner, he found a way around in front. He's not going to shirk the issue. He's going to drive through a gap that may not even be there. So he can certainly get involved. And for those reasons, given the fact he's in 1 in the final, he should attract plenty of market support. I suspect he will go off second favourite PL. What's your own view?
No, I totally agree with you. And I must admit, when the prices came up, I think he was sort of around a 5-1 mark. I thought that's a bit of a chance, because you say that if you read the form, he's got 16 lengths to make up, but it was that little bit of I don't know. I was a bit disappointed. The thing is, because cheap sandwiches were so far in front, Ian, you couldn't really see too much of what was going on in behind because of that. But a missed break from cheap sandwiches and a wallet from proper RS, and you can turn the form around. If he does grab the rails and the lead at the first bend, he is a mighty tough nut to crack, and that's going to be the key to the race. And as you say, quite rightly, people that are looking for an odds against price would probably be the first to look at him to a certain extent because of that inside line.
Yeah, we'll get to the rest of it in a moment. Back to proper airs briefly. We've already said it, PL. He's definitely a greyhound that wants to be off the front. He hasn't found himself too often behind the pace in the UK. He's never been passed in the UK when he's in front, and I suppose that's what you're clinging on to if you're backing him. I know there's plenty of anti-post backers out there believing that you can ignore the 16 lengths. I agree with you. He's a long way behind. He took a hefty bump on the first corner as well. And if he does turn close enough to the pace, there's no question he's a better dog than when he's off the pace. Like, I think majority of greyhounds are, but this fellow in particular just seems to love, being in the fight, being in the hunt. And I think you'll see a very different proper RS. In terms of having bet in the final, I've had one PL, believe it or not. It wasn't cheap sandwiches at 8-15. I stuck to the without market, but he's a dog I would certainly consider in the place market. I'm giving very little away by saying that my tip on top of the card is 5, 6, and 2. I've gone for Droopy's Deploy to be second. I think if there is going to be traffic, it's going to be on the inside. And I think with cheap sandwiches most likely going to be gone, I think Droopy's Deploy, he does stay straight as a gun barrel from that striped jacket. Given the way he's really hunting it down in the closing stages, I really struggle to see how they all get around on the inside. And if they don't all get around on the inside cleanly, Droopy's Deploy is surely going to pick up some of the pieces. So without the favourite each way, I backed him at 8-1. I thought that was a very, very generous price. But even at the 20, 25, 26 he is on the exchange, I think he's worth the nibble just for a fiver. I've put him at 12-1 on the card. That's where I think he'll end up.
Because of his makeup, that's not the worst call in the world, because the thing is with Droopy's deploy, he's always had that ability, and the right way through the derby, he seems to have just been on the back foot from the word go. He doesn't seem, and I've seen him before, Ian, and he can trap better than he has been showing.
Yeah.
And you know what, Robert's going to go.
You go back to the Newcastle decider. Like, it was over after a stride.
100%, exactly. And I just fancy that, you know, it'll be a bit of a. We've got the NFL on the Sunday in Croke Park. I think it could be a bit of a Hail Mary from Robert. He'll throw everything at Droopy's deploy to try and get him to start. And if he starts, he's got good all round pace. So yeah, that's not a bad shout, because if, as you say, if Cheap Sandwiches, if he hits the front clean early, he will be cutting across on the turn. So there could be a bit of squeeze up on the inside, and then Robert still could fly around the outside. So that's not the worst shout in the world, Mr. Fortune.
Let's go through the rest of them. Magical Mag is in trap 2. She's another I just thought was a fraction overpriced. I think I'd sooner back her at 8 or 10 to 1 than Proper ARS or Glengar Silent, just purely at the prices, because we know exactly what she's going to do. We're not going, oh, I wonder how she's going to get a run or where she's going to get a run. You know she's going to wing from boxes. And if she happens to clear the bend and any little bit of nibble or traffic in behind, and all of a sudden, you know, she can find herself 3 clear, and she's just not that tough enough. Like, she's a tough enough nut that she's not going to just fold out front. So I just thought she was a bit generous at 8 and 10 to 1. I opposed her last week with Glengar Silent, but I don't see him getting the same run behind her. And if I was to be taking on any dog, it is Glengar Silent. Yes, he's young and inexperienced. He's improving all the time. I have him down as one of the most exciting dogs for 2026, but I'm really struggling from this draw for him.
Well, yeah. So I'm interested into why you think the draw's not so good, because I've been ruining the fact that Pat is done the correct thing and put a middle on him, because I think he stays. You know, if you put him in the middle, he'll stay fairly straight like that anyway, and if you put him on the inside, he'll be moving off. So I thought 4 was a slightly better line for him to go into the turn, and the fact that he did come out this week and not in the previous weeks throughout the derby, then, you know, it could be that he's going the right way, and maybe the switch from the 5 to the 4 just could fetch him out a little bit more, because if he did go and improve with that trapping ability, then he's going to put himself in with a massive chance, because he completely and utterly flies down the back straight and comes home well enough. So he's not without a chance. It's obvious that he can only go one way, and that's forward. It's what he does on the night, as you say. Will he revert back to type and not really, you know, fly the boxes like he did? I mean, when I say fly the boxes, he came out better than he has done, because you really just expected him to get the moderate break and then try and show his all-round pace. And because of his inexperience, he's been finding sort of trouble spots, whereas he got just the clean run through behind Magical Mag last week, and he flew down the back straight against her. But you're right, Magical Mag with a wallop, if she clears Proper ARS and he misses it from that kind of trap 1 box that he doesn't always come out of, she could claim the inside, and then they've all got to get around her. So it's an intriguing final, and it's not A plus B equals C. You just think with Cheap Sandwiches, if he gets that good break, and even if Magical Mag's on his inside, he's got such good bend running ability, he could sweep around the outside of her. But yeah, it's got a lot of it, as in any final, such as this magnitude and quality. It's going to be on who breaks the best.
Yeah, well, if you look at their last 2 runs, Magical Mag, she's absolutely had a solo in the last 2 starts, flown out, done everything right. She was 6 lengths behind them the second last night, and what's the difference the last night? It's 33 spots, so it's nearly 5 lengths between them again. Again, that's without a touch. So Cheap Sandwich, he's as hard down the back straight as any of them. And I listen, obviously he's 8 to 15. So neither of us have said just yet we think Cheap Sandwiches will win the Derby, but I think it's fair to say we both fancy him to win the Derby. We're just looking at this stage for value alternatives.
Yeah, exactly. But it's a bit like what you said last week. We keep saying every week throughout the Matchbook podcast, can you see any semblance of value? And to be fair, you know, we mentioned Magical Mag at 20s at the quarterfinal stage. Or you mentioned the fact last week before the quarterfinals that if Cheap Sandwiches does what you think he's going to do in the semi-finals, he's not going to be a 6 to 4 chance. And again, I took advantage of that. I listened to you, and I thought that was a decent way of playing it. In the end, you know, I actually did have a nibble at him on the exchanges around the 4 to 6, 8 to 11 mark to win as well. But that's the beauty of getting into positions with the exchange. If you wanted to lay back now, you could do, but I think it was such a good move. I think, yeah, the value is now with the fastest dog in the race and the dog that keeps shaving that little bit off each week. Cheap Sandwiches looks the most likely winner, and he deserves to be favourite. It's really, as you say, what price favourite should he be? And he probably should be around about, probably an 8 to 13 chance, I guess, something like that. With the 1.6 mark, something like that, I would have thought.
If he traps on terms, he's a 4-on chance, isn't he?
Exactly, because you just fancy that he probably outpace, as Glengar Silent did outpace Magical Mag, then he would as well. If you get the clear runs, from the traps round to the third turn. She has been electric starter, and she got everything right again, but she probably was found a bit wanted. And don't get me wrong, I was on her at 66s and 50s, and got the place money. Then there needs to be trouble probably for her to win after leading. But again, as you say, if you're betting double digits, do you really care about shutting your eyes? Because you do fancy she'll come flying out the boxes, didn't you, and claim the rails. So
yeah, and if she does, she can run a race. And as you said, while she may need trouble, she doesn't need an awful lot of trouble. You know what I mean? All it takes is just that little touch, and you could lose 2 or 3 lengths in behind. She could find herself 3 clear into the back straight. And again, as I said, catch me if you can. That's the angles, sort of the actual pricing, the value search. How do you actually think the race will go itself, PL? Are you like myself? You're expecting Cheap Sandwiches to come away probably as much with the pack, maybe about a length behind Magical Mag, and I'd be expecting him to be on her shoulder, if not nearly just in front of her by the opening corner. And I think that may be that. And then it's a case of what hunts in behind. It could get a little bit squeezy on the corner, especially if Cheap Sandwiches has the length, because he will drive across and she mightn't just be as clean. Barefoot and Song is probably likely to be enough prominent. Proper ARS won't be too far off them. I'd be then considering the chance of a little bit of crowding on the inside and Droopy's deploys to swing around third, maybe pick up second late on. That'd be my ideal scenario. But in reality, it's hard to pick the pieces of what's going to happen in behind. But basically, I'm saying I think Cheap Sandwiches might just head it on the opening corner and find himself a couple of clear into the back straight.
Yeah, I mean, it's difficult to know exactly what's going to happen, Ian, and you can only, sort of surmise what probably. I think the key to the race, because of what we said about Magical Mag, the key to the race is what Proper Heiress does out the trap one box. Because, and I thought this yesterday when I was looking. You've got trap 1 Mark Wallace, trap 2 Patrick Guilfoyle, trap 3 Paul Hennessy, trap 4 is Pat Buckley, 5 is Graham Holland, and you've got Robert Gleeson in trap 6. You've got 6 of the best trainers you could ever wish to get into a Derby final, and they all know what it takes, to get the dogs there. And you can only control what happens in preparation up to then what happens on the night. But the crowd noise, the sense of occasion, it's going to get to some of them. Bear in mind, we haven't even mentioned Barefoot on Song yet, and we've got 2 ladies in the final. They're both there on merit. They're both kept running really well throughout the comp. You'd say the only probably lucky dog, and that was twice, was Proper Heiress, once in the second round and once in the semi-finals. But those stories kind of, they're magic for journalists like you. So I wouldn't write that off. I really wouldn't write off Proper Heiress coming through the bars and leading at the first bend and doing what he did to Cheap Sandwiches. And Cheap Sandwiches could try all he wants. I ain't too sure whether he'll lift him off the rabbit, Proper Heiress. So he is definitely the key to the race. What happens with him at the start?
Yeah, very much so. I was just looking at the weather forecast. 15 degrees for Dublin 4, mostly cloudy, a little rain in the morning, followed by a shower in spots in the afternoon. Sounds like it'll be perfect. A little bit of water on the track. Place should be great. Place will be hopping. Drinks will be flowing. There'll be music after racing. I can't wait, PL. I really cannot wait. That's the Derby. So we're both expecting Cheap Sandwiches to win. But again, PL, you'll certainly be keeping an eye on Proper Heiress in the early yards for obvious enough reasons. Although it's not going to be easy when you're commentating on the final, I'll be keeping an eye on Droopy Deploy. If he does come with a rush off the second bend, don't be surprised if you hear us in the commentary. Okay, but no, Cheap Sandwiches is a deserving favourite. And by all accounts, he's been there, he's done that. And the fact that he's been in 2 Derby finals before PL, it can really only stand to him.
Yeah, I think that's the thing is as well with Greyhounds, you can't buy experience, and he's just got that. When you look at Glengar Silent, he's got much more experience than Glengar Silent, so he might be able to handle the occasion at that little bit better. You'd kind of say again that's a plus point for him, and maybe a negative for Glengar Silent. Droopy's Deploy should be all right, I would have thought. Listen, as you know, I'm a big fan of Patrick Guilford, and so I'll be hoping that Magical Mag can do the business, because financially as well, she gets me a nice few quid. So, but in being realistic, I think that Cheap Sandwiches is peaking at the right time, and I just think the other dog that may be able to shock was Proper Heiress. Listen, I wouldn't be surprised if Glengar Silent improved, because again it's Pat Buckley, and Pat knows how to win a derby. So it's an intriguing final. It's an intriguing final, and all things being equal, I think Cheap Sandwiches should be the champion.
Yeah, for all that Glengar Silent made his best ever start last week, and it was without question his best ever start. Now, mind you, it was only his 10th career outing, which is pretty remarkable considering he's in the final. There were still 3 of them went faster than them to the opening, to the winning line, and I dare say from the winning line to the corner, most of them are probably going faster than Glengar Silent. So that's the weak point. It's just getting to that corner, because we know he's as fast as any dog really down the back straight and coming, he stays on really well. He's not what you call a big finisher, but he'll certainly keep moving. He'll carry momentum into the home straight and keep going to the line. I suspect that it's just the first 50 yards could be the difference between winning, or not even winning, but even getting involved and finishing sort of down the pack. It'll be interesting to see how he runs. As I said, I think anything he achieves this year is very much a bonus, Glengar Silent, because he's very much next year's dog. There's no point in talking anymore about a PL in the sense where we have an 8-15 favourite. We've discussed him. We've discussed the dangers. We've discussed the value outside, and we've even discussed the outsider party, Barefoot and Song, who has to be said has a litter of pups on the ground. They're almost 13, 14 months old. It's a remarkable story. But the fact that she's even there and bouncing tells you how much they love to race. And best of luck to the mum, Barefoot on Song. She's 50-1 in places, PL. I can't encourage too many people to have a couple of euro on her, but Kevin Hennessy's absolutely certain that she won't be overawed and she'll run her race.
I'd agree with that. She's just a great competition bitch, and she just puts her heart and soul into racing. As you say, it's great to see. She doesn't frighten you with her clocks, but she's there, and she's there on merit, because she keeps herself tidy in races. She knows how to find gaps, and she runs through the line well. So yeah, it just adds to the flavour. I think it's a fantastic final, I've got to tell you, and I really do.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Obviously enough, there'll be plenty of people trying to tune in. Just give you an option in terms of the pricing there. Just give you the best prices currently available, right? So Cheap Sandwich is about, he bait 8-15, maybe a fraction bigger. Glengar Silent 5-1, Proper Heiress 5-1, Magical Mag 12, 25, Droopy's Deploy, Barefoot on Song. You have to see the ticker on the bottom there. Okay, they're basically where they are at now. But just come the night itself, if you're fancying one of the outsiders, bar Droopy's Deploy, because I expect him to plunge, maybe stick with the exchange, because in that last 2 minutes, some of those prices will be left in the rear view mirror, because they'll be betting to 101, 102 on the exchange, whereas they're 114, 115 when they're really betting hard. Best price across the board, 110. So stick with the exchange, stay with it late, and you'll definitely get a bit of value. There is a bit of value to be had elsewhere on the card, PL. We're going to talk briefly about the Derby Plate, and I would suggest, well, given the fact that Bocco's Diamond they've sort of announced that he's back in training, or he will be training again next year, I'm going to suggest the second fastest greyhound in training could potentially be running in the Derby Plate, and that is my old pal, Magical Major. His run in the semi-final was something to behold. He was 12 lengths back after all sorts of traffic in the opening corner. He's beaten 3 parts and a short head. It was remarkable. I think he's a monster of a greyhound, and as I said, I think things are starting to click. I got a glimpse, let's say, of one of the firms before they went up at 7-4, and I just said I'd back him at 4-5. They went 5-4. He's now 11-10. I think even money is perfectly fair about Magical Major, and that's the price I stuck on the card. I think he's a monster PL. I think if he traps on terms, I'm not sure they'll see which way he goes.
That's his Achilles heel. He's starting. I've always been a fan of, obviously, he's Magical Luca's brother as well, so he's from a good litter. But I backed him the same as you for the Derby itself, and I've backed him for the plate.
This is one we're going to be crying over into a pint after racing when he's gone close to the clock and he's been absolutely sensational. What might have been PL?
Yeah, for the Derby itself, exactly. But that's kind of young dogs for you. When you say my old mate, he's another one. He's only had 10 runs. He has had 6 wins, by the way. But he's one of those that he's just that a bit unpredictable, a lot unpredictable at the start, and he's another one, a bit like Glengar Silent. He seems to find trouble spots, but his raw pace is just absolutely incredible. And that is the frightening part of him, the King Shearer and Magical Mary breeding. He's October 23, so again, he's still a next year's dog, Ian, without a doubt. One greyhound that is putting his inside, Anoa McKenna, seems to just have got a tune out of Sunshine Sue, another fantastically bred dog, Droopy Sydney and Susie Sapphire. He just seems to be running at the right time, and he's got the advantage of that inside line, and he just seems to be, he's popping out, he's trapping that little bit better, and he's giving himself every chance. Now, you'd think if Magical Major turned with him, then Magical Major should win, and that's the key to the race.
Just in terms of pure pace, but Sunshine Sue is really strong. Like, he is a 5'7", 600-yard dog, but like, he did find himself 8 clear of Magical Major last week and beats him less than a length. So I think that tells its own story. But I agree with you. I think he's the danger. He's got a great draw, and they both have a good draw because trap 3 Magical G up takes 2 or 3 steps to its right. Now it comes back in on the opening corner, and that probably was the cause of the problem last week. One dog, Southfield Stan, found himself with nowhere to go, and he just ran straight off the corner, caused all sorts of chaos. But yeah, I think if the two of them are up the inside of Harlequin G up, they'll probably go around first and second, and then it's race on.
It is, and then I'll be watching where Ball Sports Blue turns behind, because I've actually backed him at 33s. I think he's still 33s now, so I haven't done anything that clever. But
first 4 or just win,
just the first three, okay. And I've got him in a each way double with Magical Mag in the Derby final as well for the Sweet. So I could be getting excited if Ball Sports Blue did win the plate. But I have backed at, we talk about old friends, and they're not that old, Carrick Scholesy as well. Carrick Scholesy I backed at the start along with Magical Major, and Epic Ace unfortunately went out in the first round. But I just thought they were 3 really fast dogs, and I couldn't see too far past them. And it wasn't until I just saw Ball Sports Blue catch my eye in the first round, and the makeup of the 4 qualifying, that I thought he could get to the final, and sure enough, Ball Sports Blue is there. But again, it's another quality. It's some really quick dogs in this plate final. You know, in gracing your father's name. It's just
it's arguably one of the best plate finals we've ever had.
It could easily be, yeah. That, as I say to you, Owen's got Sunshine Sue running really well, and for that kind of breeding, when he started off in his career, you were a bit disappointed with him, but he seems to have been getting there now, and he's been really catching my eye, and he's put himself in with a great chance. He's got a plum draw on the inside, so it's really all down to what Magical Major wants to do. Carrot Skulls, he should be up there, and he'll probably come across on the turn. You know, and to be fair, Groucho's Hoffer's not a slouch to the turn either, so there's plenty of pace in the race, and that's why if he did get messy, Ball Sports Blue could come late and pick up the pieces. So it's an interesting race. Yeah, you obviously don't agree, yeah.
No, I was actually, funny enough, I was keeping an eye on Ball Sports Blue last week, did him with a couple of trios and whatnot, and God, he hammered home, but he just didn't show him enough to the third bend. That's the issue. And it's not even to the second bend, it's to the third bend. He doesn't get going until probably too late. But as you say, there is a chance of a pincer here in the inside and the outside sort of coming together, and things could get tight up front. I know what you'll be shouting for anyway. It'll be blue in the black is what you'll be shouting for down the back straight. No, a cracking race, but I've napped Magical Major. Even money. I have a feeling we could be looking back at this in 6 weeks' time or 6 months' time and going, my God, how was he even money in that race? One of them situations, because it's definitely coming. His run in the previous round, 29.42, coming from a mile off the pace after again missing the kick and finding traffic. It was a remarkable run. And I know exactly what you mean. His problem at this point is he is finding traffic in the trouble spots, but that has to end sooner rather than later.
Yeah, he's got to learn, hasn't he? That's the thing. And he's got so many gears in. That's the thing. It's his starting that's letting him down, and yet he's not devoid of early pace by any means. It's just then he's just got to negotiate a clear passage around the first 2 turns. And if actually Sunshine Sue does get out of the way, it might actually help him, as you say, with 3 just edging off slightly. Ball Sports Blue isn't going to be worrying him too much in the early pace department, so he could turn a clean second. And if he does, then it could be, you'll be a joy to be able to watch him down the back straight, because he is a very, very fast dog, as you say.
No question. There are a few familiar faces on the undercard, dogs that we know a long, long time. We'll end up talking about them again, I'm sure, in the future. Bombay Pat is running in one of the open 550-yard races in Trap 6. Our old pal. He's got a good makeup, but again, he can't afford to just fluff the lines like he did last time when he went out at the Derby. He's recently trialled at Central Park. He's gone over to the Kent Derby. He's on the outside of Balnabola Joe, who, I'll be honest, PL, the last 3 times I saw him, I thought, he's going to break tonight, he's going to break tonight, he's going to break tonight. And more I've noticed he's standing up too late. He's standing up until way, way too late. And it looks like it's something wrong with his mechanics right now, rather than he's just missing it. And until he gets that sorted, it's an issue. I would suggest Bombay Pat looks not bomb-proof by any stretch of imagination, but I've stuck him in at 8-11 on the card. And I'm sure plenty would be looking for 8-11, 4-5, thinking that's perfectly fair. Our El Pal Deladi Daz there. Throw in check for cash prices, Romeo, Lemon Joey. Cracking race.
Yeah, it is a top quality race, as you say. Check for Cash has been running really well, showing good early zip. You'd think he'd lead Deladi Dar. You can never write Deladi Dar off. And then you've got Priceless Romeo and Lemon Joey down the middle, 2 quick rounds in their own right. Yeah, Balnabola Joe's just been one of those that his starting is just letting down. He's just got into that bad habit of not coming out of a box. I just wonder, and I said to you about Pat putting the middle on him. He's kept the wide, but he's got 5. I just wonder whether not being in 6 might just fetch him out that little bit better. I mean, Bombay Pat's not an electric breaker by any means himself. He uses his brute early dash as his potent weapon. But if Balnabola Joe came out, he'd give Bombay Pat a run. I know that much. So yeah, but it is an interesting race, and I hear with that run at Central Park, as you said, that Bombay Pat's going for the Kent Derby, which is brilliant from Graham Holland. So that's great sport.
I'll take 3-1 now if you're offering. Right. We'll move on. A couple of other familiar names, dogs, we're used to that I thought would be in around the even money chance or slightly shorter. I've put Droopy's Patriot in at 10-11. It's a tricky race. There's loads of early speed in it. I'd prefer the longer run up for him than the 5-2-5, but I suspect he'll be pretty popular. So I stuck him in at 10-11. And the other one I put in at the same price, actually, enough, Hussein Pickles. 10-11 is a real, I don't want to go 4-5. But I'm not sure I'd like to be going evens, because people will be at you going, oh, would you lay me the evens? So I always go 10-11, those sort of the dogs. Hussein Pickles in the finale. She ran some race last Saturday night to pick up the likes of Westway Ross at Ballymac to bet. So I thought she'd be fairly popular in the finale. Your thoughts on either?
Yeah, well, Hussein Pickles is always going to be that better 600-yard greyhound. She was just taken off her feet against Derby class dogs. Blouse of Heffo, Look and Lep, those sort of greyhounds, even Balnabola Jim, they're kind of not what you'd say, Derby final, Derby semi-final class dogs. They're probably a little bit below that. And of course, the interesting runner is Ballymac Axel for the JR Racing Syndicate. Some of the lads
Well,
will be coming
I
over.
made him the danger, and
Yeah,
I'll be honest. At the prices I put in the card, 10 to 11 and 4 to 1, I'll definitely be having a nibble on Ballymac Axel. Just because he's crying out for the trip.
yeah, without a doubt. And yeah, as you say, I'm a big fan of Droopy's Patriot. I think 550 or 1 off 550 probably would have been better for him, Ian. But I know Robert's he had those few issues with him, did he? So he's probably just kept him fresh. He needs to start, but if he starts with the field, he's got incredible early pace. He's a dog that I really, really like as well. So, I mean, it's just an incredible, it is like a night of stars, isn't it? It's just an incredible evening's racing. Can't wait.
Great night's racing. Anything else in the card? I know you haven't had much time to look at it. We are recording this on Wednesday afternoon. It only really came online on Wednesday morning. I know you've been traveling, but have you had a chance to glance through it? Anything that just jumped off for you? I know you haven't had time to really study the card in depth, but anything else?
I suppose we should mention Shanahy Boomer, because he was a dog that we kind of said, is his maiden derby form that good? Do you know what? I think the track 4 actually suits him in this kind of makeup as well. He's done well out of 4, to be fair to him, and I think in the 6th race, the consolation final, I think he must have a chance if he breaks on terms, because I think Sing Along Curly will go across for him, so I think he'll have a fair amount of room. So he could be one that could trap smartly for Kieran Lynch and the syndicate that own him. So yeah, he was another dog that's just kind of caught my eye. And when you look at Magical on Fire, as well as obviously Turn the Magic On's sister, she runs in the previous race, and she's got Glengar Martha to contend with. And Glengar Martha's always one of those that on the night, the one-off night, she could go wallop. She's just come back from Galway. She could easily go bingo for Pat.
He's one of mine for the night. Back to Shelbourne after a bit of a break from the place. She's cute enough these days. She's in October 21, but I think the form is still there, and I like her draw. Like, she's 5 inside seeds in her inside. She's a middle seed out in 6. She's raced from 6 many's a time before and lowered the colours of very talented greyhound. So I've sided with her. But funnily enough, I stuck Hackney Tango into be second after her record-breaking run at Dundalk, but Magical on Fire was very much on the agenda. She stuck in for 3rd. She's been out of the frame in her last 2 starts, but I think you can ignore those defeats if you go back to her best form. The win in the Derby on August 23rd, it was a fine display, and we know how capable she is. She's a 28-23 in her card at Shelbourne Park, so she's certainly a player, no question about it. And she's on the right side of Broca Justine, who is one of those local runners who's an absolute professional starter. She's like Magical Mag, almost nearly sharper, which is hard to believe. She can certainly play a part at a bit of a price as well, Broca Justine. But if you're trying to get around her, it's an issue, and that could be the issue for the likes of Hackney Tango Bad Behaving. Hopefully not for Glengar Martha. Cracking card to look forward to. PL, I think we've spoken enough. This has been a very enjoyable few weeks. This is week 6 of the Matchbook Betting Exchange, talking all about the Boyle Sports Irish Greyhound Derby. I think we've thrown up plenty of talking points. We've given a few pointers, some good, some not so good. But I think on a whole, we've sort of gone right across the board, and we're looking forward to a good final, a couple of which we sort of suggested from the early days. And all we have to say now is good luck to anyone remaining in the competition.
Yeah, as you say, along the way, it's been really enjoyable, because you're dealing with top quality greyhounds and trying to find value from what the form that we all know is there is not the easiest. But as you say, we got a big price winner in the final with Magical Mag, and you did mention about even with cheap sandwiches. So this is what I mentioned about 6 to 4. Oh, that's not a very big price. Well, hang on, it's 4 to 6 now. Do you know what I mean? After one run, so there is value to be had, and as you always say, the beauty of betting on the Matchbook Exchange is that you can always trade your position, and that's what I like about it.
Yeah. Often we don't trade our position, and are left ruining the situation afterwards. But the option is there. It's only yourself you can blame.
For you, yeah, that's gambling without a doubt, Ian. Yeah.
Right, that's it, PL. Again, a very enjoyable 6 weeks. I thank you for all your input over the few weeks. Once again, folks, before we go, if you are signing up to Matchbook, Pod50 is the code. Make sure you sign up. £50 in free bets back once you've had £50 worth of bets. And of course, check out Track Club. £30 bet over Monday through to Thursday, and you'll get £10 back as a free bet for Friday night or for Friday's action or the weekend's action, whichever you choose. Don't forget to check out all the various podcasts on the platform, of course. NFL in Dublin on Sunday. Make sure to check out the views of the lads. Some great insights there, as there always is with the football. Mark and Adrian are different gravy. Not to mention Daniel doing all the questions, because as I know, PL, that's the hard part, is asking the questions and sitting on your hands, pretending you know what you're talking about.
He listens, Ian, and then he strikes. Let's lock it in. Love that. Love it.
Yeah. Oh, there's no messing. He doesn't let the lads debate again. He just goes, "No, I've locked that one in." I'm nearly sticking fingers up to the other one, like, you know what I mean? PL, good luck. Thanks very much. Anyone go to Shelbourne Park on Saturday night, if you see me, tip me on the shoulder. Mine's a Heineken. We'll see you then. Good luck. God bless. Good evening. And best of luck to the finalists in the Boyle Sports Irish Greyhound Derby. That's it from us.